Who dares strike the face of Chukwu? Woman of dust, your carelessness has wounded heaven.
My Father in heaven, I did not mean it. I was only pounding yam for my husband.
My children, gather round and listen, for this is one of those stories that the wind itself remembers. It is the story of how the sky, which once bent low to kiss the earth, rose up and left us forever. In the days when the world was still young and soft like freshly pounded yam, when rivers still spoke and trees still held counsel, the sky was very close to the earth, so close that if you stretched your hand, you could brush your fingers against the blue belly of heaven. In those days, people said Chukwu, the Great Spirit, lived just above the clouds, and his laughter rolled across the hills like thunder. Birds flew between heaven and earth freely, carrying messages from humans to the gods. The air was sweet, and everything had its place. The sun rose gently, the rain came when called, and no one ever went hungry. The people of Umuofia Alaocha village were happy. They farmed the rich red soil and lived in harmony with one another. Among them was a woman named Neka, daughter of Ogbuefi Idu and wife of Okoro the hunter. Neka was known across the 7 compounds for her skill in cooking. Her soups could heal a sick man's heart, they said, and even Ndi Muo, the spirits, would sneak close at night to smell her pots. One golden afternoon, when the sun hung lazily over the palm trees and the goats slept in the shade, Neka decided to make ofe nsala, the white soup. Her husband had returned from hunting with fresh bush meat, a fat grass cutter, and her mortar was already singing under the pestil's rhythm. Gum, gum, gum. The sound echoed through the village like a festival drum. Children playing nearby paused to listen. The sky itself seemed to hum along, because in those days, the sky loved the sound of human laughter and work. It leaned close to watch, its soft blue face glowing with pleasure. As Neka cooked, she added her ingredients one by one: slices of yam, scent leaves, crayfish, ogiri that smelled sharp and divine. The aroma rose like a sweet spirit. "Ha," she said proudly, "when my husband tastes this soup, his ancestors will rejoice." Then she began to pound the yam, gong, 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 until it became smooth and soft as moonlight. But as she lifted the pestle, she did not notice how high her hand went. For you see, the sky was so near that if one raised a palm fully, the clouds might tickle the fingertips. The elders used to warn, no one dances too high beneath the sky, for Chukwu is listening. But that day, Nneka was too absorbed in her cooking. She pounded faster and faster, singing her favorite song, Ibe Eleka, Mamu Ikue. Her pestle rose and fell, until one strong lift sent it striking the very belly of heaven. Gum! A great sound echoed across the land. The sky shuddered, and from the point where the pestle struck, a small tear opened, a wound in the firmament. From it poured blinding light and wind so strong that the palm trees bent low. The people screamed, children ran from their play, old men clutched their walking sticks and looked upward. The bright crack spread wider, and through it they could see flashes of light, spirits moving like shadows behind a curtain. Then came a voice, deep, thunderous, shaking the air like a drum. "Who dares strike the face of Chukwu?" It was the voice of Chukwu Okike Abiyama, the creator himself. His words rolled like thunder over the hills of Umuofia Araocha. Birds dropped from the sky in fear, and even the river gods went silent. Neka fell to her knees, her pestle trembling in her hand. "My Father in heaven, I did not mean it. I was only pounding yam for my husband." But the sky rumbled again.
Woman of dust, your carelessness has wounded heaven. You humans have grown too bold, touching what is sacred. You forget that what is above must remain above. Okoro the hunter, hearing the thunder, ran from the forest and fell beside his wife. Please, great Chukwu, forgive her. She meant no harm. She is but a woman of the earth. But Chukwu's voice was sorrowful. It is not only her hand that offends, it is the heart of mankind. Pride rises like smoke from your cooking pots. You no longer look up with reverence, but with ambition. The people bowed their heads, trembling. The sky began to draw back slowly, like a wounded giant lifting itself away. First, the clouds pulled upward, then the blue stretched and stretched, rising higher and higher until no one could touch it. The people wept and reached their hands upward, but their fingers grasped only air. Birds that once perched on the rim of heaven now flew until they were mere dots. The voice of Chukwu faded into the distance, and the light that had poured through the crack dimmed. When all was still again, the people of Umuofia Alaocha found that the world had changed. The sky was now far above. Its nearness, that comfort of hearing the gods breathe, was gone. Nneka sat beside her mortar, tears mixing with the yam she had pounded. "I have driven heaven away," she whispered. "What shall we do now?" That evening, the elders gathered beneath the great Udala tree to discuss what had happened. Old Nana, the seer, whose eyes were white with age, but whose vision pierced worlds, spoke first. "Children of the earth," he said, "the sky has gone because we forgot humility. The gods are not far by distance, but by respect. The woman's pestle only struck the sky, but it was our pride that lifted it." They murmured in agreement. One elder, Ogbuefi Ane, said, "In my father's time, people spoke to the sky with reverence. We left offerings for Chukwu, and even the smallest child greeted the morning sun. But now, we think ourselves equal to the gods because our barns are full and our stomachs round." Another elder said softly, "The sky has gone where our hearts cannot reach." That night, they performed sacrifices, a white cock, a calabash of palm wine, and yam pieces laid upon banana leaves. They called upon Chukwu to return the sky to its place, but the heavens were silent. Days passed, and the people learnt a hard lesson. Without the sky's nearness, the air was different, dry, distant. Rain no longer came when called. One had to beg for it. So they began to lift their voices upward, calling, "Chukwu Anyi, our Creator, hear us from your high throne." Humans now had to pray to God. Before, people simply spoke to the sky as one speaks to a neighbor across a fence. But after the sky rose, they had to shout, to sing, to hope their voices reached the divine ear. Even Nneka, shamed but repentant, built a small shrine in front of her hut. Each dawn she poured water upon the earth and said, "Chukwu, forgive my hand that was too strong. Teach me to remember the height between heaven and clay." Over time, people began to say that the clouds were the footprints of Chukwu as he moved away, and whenever thunder rolled, they believed he still remembered the woman who touched the sky. Many seasons passed, and the story of Nneka the cook became a legend. Some said that Nneka lived to an old age and was buried beside her mortar and pestle, symbols of her mistake and her humility. Others said she disappeared one evening, carried away by a breeze that smelled of soup and rain, perhaps forgiven by the gods at last. But all agreed that from that day, the sky stayed high. It only comes close now when the clouds descend, when the world grows dark and thunder murmurs. Then, if you listen carefully, you can almost hear a distant voice say, "Be gentle, people of earth, do not lift your hands too high." So, that is how the sky that once bent low now floats high above us. It is why we must lift our eyes in prayer when we speak to God, and why thunder reminds us to respect what is above. Whenever you see lightning flash, remember Nneka's pestle, the one that rose too high and struck the face of Chukwu. And remember also this saying from the elders, the mouth does not eat what is above it. Let your hands work, but let your heart bow. For the distance between heaven and earth is not only in space, it is in respect.
Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this story, please subscribe for more.